Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with cast member, co-creator Jean Elie and writer, co-creator Mike Gauyo of All Black's new dramedy series, Send Help. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So, I'm really excited anyway, because I'm like, somebody is telling this first generation story that needs to be told. And I did watch some of the episodes, and you guys have a really good thing here. So people are going to be very excited about this.
Thank you so much.
Now, what made it that you wanted to incorporate a bit of your lives here and tell the Haitian story from the American kid perspective?
We live it. So as you know, you just want to write what you know. As a writer and a creator, you want to tell the stories that you know, that you could actually understand. So therefore, you're not making things up. So we can be as honest as possible. So yeah, that's exactly why we wanted to create this story. We're both first gen Haitian-Americans. So.
Yeah. As a writer coming up too, it's like you're encouraged to write what you know. So that's all we know to do. And we've never really seen ourselves expressed in this way on television. So it was really important to us to tap into that.
And it's interesting because I do hear this a lot, because it's a question I'm always curious about, like in terms of like how people arrive at being writers, or what their strategy was, or what they tapped into, or what motivated them. And seriously, every single person I speak to that is successful in the writing space, one of the first things they do say is you have to write about the story. Don't go making stuff up. Yeah, do things that you can absolutely relate to, because you're far more interesting than you even realize. These small things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming up as a writer, like at first I was writing a lot about like, what I thought networks wanted, what I thought they wanted to see, like copying other shows that were already in the zeitgeist, you know what I mean? And sometimes you really have to tap into yourself to find what it is that's unique about yourself that still feels universal to other people. And that's what you really, should be trying to tap into. So that I learned that fairly early and started implementing that into my own writing.
Yeah, I learned to start writing from what I know when I started seeing things that I didn't see myself in. And I wanted to create shows and stories that actually spoke to me. So speaking to like either the trauma or the family dynamic, or my spin on things that I'm seeing and how my brain is understanding what I'm looking at.
And with Jean, you actually are cast in the show, and it's so interesting because some of these pieces that I see, I'm East African, but this is so relatable on so many levels. Like how you guys have him on FaceTime with his mom, and she's telling you to pray and all these things that it's just hilarious how you dial into that story that so many of us can relate to. So I felt like watching the show, I was being represented too. So I totally. Yeah.
That's the goal.
Exactly what we wanted.
This is exactly what we wanted. The goal is for specifically as Haitian American, but also at the same time, first gen kids deal with all this as well.
Yes.
So to make it relatable, and that we're being honest with ourselves, but also speaks to everybody else, that is the goal right there.
So I like to talk about people's paths to, where they're at, or, what they're happy with doing in the moment, whether that means that they're going to go into a second act or whatever it is. But Mike, I thought it was so completely interesting that apparently you wanted to be a doctor growing up. Like this was the thing.
No, absolutely. You talk about a second act, and for me, writing has been my second act. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of kids coming up, especially immigrant kids who are groomed to move towards a more medical career. Growing up, we're like, okay, you're told you're either going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a nurse, and like you can't go apart from any of those four options. So growing up, becoming a doctor was the only option I was given by my parents, so I didn't really see anything else. So although I loved TV and I loved to write, I didn't see a pathway towards that thing. So it wasn't until I got to college that I was like, okay, first of all, me and organic chemistry ain't got no chemistry, so
it's not gonna work.
which is not gonna work. So I figured that okay, let me figure out what else I want to do. So I knew I grew up writing. I love to write, so let me go ahead and make this change. And you get the friction from your parents about like, I don't know if that's the best idea, but you do it anyway. And they're thankful now, they're happy now. They always just want to feel a sense of pride and for you and things like that. But yeah, writing has been my second act. And as soon as I knew that I wanted to go for that thing and move to LA, there was no stopping me.
Oh, that's great. And John, I want to talk about you because I was looking at your story like, you just kind of happened on a set, weren't expecting much, and then read well enough to be really included. Like those are those LA stories and moments that you hear about, but it's like, that didn't happen to nobody that I know. So explain it. How did that come to be? Like, you're the guy.
Look, it's been a long journey. I've left Sprint and then decided to embark on this journey of becoming an actor later in the game, around like 22 years old, and moved out to LA and just kind of like hustled my way through it all. And also took on several jobs in the process of getting to where I'm at now. Like I've worked every position on set at some point in time. I've also like took on customer service jobs in the process of also being on set on Insecure. Just constantly like hustling and just getting to where I'm at. So and I've also like fought my way into certain roles. For instance, like the movie Project X. Like I was background one day and then I called casting up and told them I'm the guy that you need to hire for this part. And they end up giving me the role, which ends up working out for me later on and allowed me to join the union. And continue down this path. And with the Insecure thing, it was just an audition that came through that I was nervous about getting and wasn't sure they were going to ever pick me. And then they picked me. And I had to go through the process like everybody else. And it just started working out. How that was kind of serendipitous, but it all started with the work I had to do in acting class over at Playhouse West.
That's important to point out because nothing just happens, right? So like when you talk about serendipitous, but it's also things are very purposeful and you make those right connections and do those things in your life, then it leads to a place. But certainly, I think it's important for people to know that you were actually grinding and willing to, even when you talk about taking on customer service jobs, those are all experiences that do help you to inform, like how do I deal? Because I'm customer service, you can't just be cussing people out, you know what I mean? So you gotta act a little bit.
Yeah. And you also gotta tell them the truth about themselves sometimes too. So
you gotta do that too. But you know what, Mike, I do think it's worth mentioning some of the work that you've been doing with Black Boy Rights and Black Girl Rights mentorship. That's so important to bring up as we're speaking about this. And now you're paying it forward. And how did that come about? And what does it mean to you to do this?
Oh, wow. Thank you. Great question. I think that it really came about during the pandemic, Black Lives Matter was a huge thing also during the pandemic. I feel as though we've seen a lot of like unfortunately slain Black men out there too. So I often thought about like what they would be able to do if they were still alive. Were they creative? Did they want to create? What was that from? So the term Black Boy Rights itself comes from the idea of like Black boys being able to take up space and be creative, but also the right to exist, the right to be able to take up space, But when it comes to the program itself, one thing that's been really important to me is talking about the lack of diversity that exists in Hollywood. There's statistics that come out every year about it. So for me, I really wanted to create a program that could fill that gap, that can create opportunities and amplify and give access to more Black writers coming up in the business.
It's so interesting because the pandemic, while it was just such like this time of uncertainty and like no one knew, left from right, back to front, like nobody just knew anything. But in some places and in some, it's so interesting how some people found their own voices or passion projects in this in this really critical, strange moment. Yeah. So you're not like the first person that I've spoken to who kind of birthed an idea that made so much sense in such a strange moment. So it's always like when I'm like, wow,
And the thing is, you have so much time by yourself. We were in quarantine. Yeah. You all you could do is think. Okay, you're in the house.
Yeah, it's true.
Think and really like dive into yourself and what's important to you and what you want to put out into the world. So with that and just having a lot of time to think, you begin to process what's really important to you, and people hone in on those things and start creating magic from it.
For real, like For real. Like I've literally watched a lot of short films during the pandemic. And I was wondering like how these Black and brown filmmakers not getting the opportunity to get to where they need to be at. So I created Bassett House Pictures and created a platform where we could distribute their short films and get them out there and get them seen by executives by hosting Screen at Night events where executives could come see their short films and projects and also commingle and meet the creator themselves. So therefore we can fill that void and gap that that they're saying that people are trying to fill.
Yeah.
By introducing them directly to the executives themselves.
I just particularly like how the both of you like to pour into people and get people seen. I mean, that's not something that you can fake. You know what I mean? Like, so if that's a passion of yours and you're consistent and you're actually letting people be seen with Bass House Pictures and of course with the Black Girl Rights, Black Boy Rights, you know, it takes a certain kind of person, you know, to do that. So, I mean, I just, from the outside looking in, I absolutely appreciate that about the both of you.
Thank you. You know, we're only doing it because people did it for us too. You know what I mean? We didn't come up in this business alone. There are shoulders that we stand on, and I want to be able to have some strong ass shoulders so people can stand on mine. You know?
Exactly.
So yeah, we're grateful.
Just want to create the table for everybody else to be able to sit at.
Yeah.
It's funny because that leads me right into my next thought. And I was just saying, like, look at these strong relationships and the actors that you were able to include on your show, and these people that you've worked with before that, you know, are known for the, like, let's say like Amin Joseph and people like that, who we do know as having very strong current roles in other television shows. But all of these people, because of the relationships that you've maintained and because of how you positioned yourself in Hollywood, I mean, you know, again, that doesn't happen just because. It's about relationship building in the best way. So I was like, wow, look at the cast too.
Yeah, it's about building strong, authentic relationships and not worrying about what you can do for me. It's more so like, who are you? How are you doing? You know, and like building genuine, strong bonds with people.
And creating a level of trust too, you know. We could call up some friends and be like, it wouldn't matter what we wrote. They would be down to do it because it's us and because they trust us and what we're attempting to do, you know what I mean? So there's a certain level of trust that needs to exist there too. And thankfully we created something we'd like to think is great. So
it's great. No, it's great.
So we're like, okay, good. Thank you for trusting us.
It's great. I just gotta tell you, this is such a random, like just a small scene, right? But it just cracked me up when we're at the Haitian food truck, and you know, you kind of like run to give the man, you know, some extra money, like he don't need all that, you know, to go to Long Beach. Yeah. But then when you didn't have money and he's looking at you like, oh brother, I've been there. I mean, it was just so funny because like I've literally been in situations like there's like small details like that still remain relatable. That you're like, how did they think to write about something like that? Yeah.
From our personal lives, like we made it a point in the writer's room to pull from everyone's experiences, you know? And that's similar to what we do in the Insecure writer's room too. A lot of the things that are happening or that have happened on Insecure has happened to some of the people in the room because they're going out and they're experiencing life. So for us, it was really important to have writers in the room that, you know, have a wealth of stories to tell because we wanted to be able to share that.
Yeah.
But how did you guys know that right now was the right time for this show?
You know what? We didn't. I mean, I didn't.
Like, I'm not gonna lie.
I go get it. We did not. It is literally we were literally on God's time, you know, and it worked the way it was supposed to work, you know. Because we started this journey in 2017, and now look at us now in 2022. The show's about to premiere August 11th on All Black. So it was just God's divine timing, but at the same time that we really put in the work to get it to where it's at. Absolutely. And just worked out perfectly.
And we have
network. It was done at the right time. It was done with the right people. It was done, you know, it's coming out exactly when it should. It's all, you know, divine timing.
I was just gonna say we have to give some credit as well to All Black because they are so supportive. Yes. So when I see you know, who's on their roster and the programming that they support, I'm like, this is the right place. And I feel good about that, especially like I said, given like the show, it's really great. So they gonna love it. I saw Mike, you posted about premieres on Twitter and stuff.
Oh, just now?
Yeah, I was like, Mike's feeling it right now.
I was like, okay, hold on. But yeah, because it's a Variety posted a thing about
they did.
The must attend events of the week, and like, oh, here we go. Look at us.
Look at us.
Must attend. No more tickets. I hope people don't hit us up, but yeah.
Oh no, they will. You know they will.
They will.
Yeah, we about to get blown up for that.
They will. But no, we're really excited.
I know we're working on this show right now, and it's the big baby in the moment, right? Like, this is the thing. But is there anything else that you guys are working on in terms of like maybe another show that you're writing on that I can know about? Because sometimes people don't like to say.
Well, I'm writing a couple of features now, and I have a pilot in development. I'm really excited about a project that I just came on board of that has Wyclef involved.
Nice.
It's based on Wyclef's story. He's doing all the music for it, and it's an animated feature.
Oh, cool. Okay.
With Netflix, so we're really excited about that, and continuing to develop other things and other shows. Ginny and Georgia season 2 comes out later this year as well, like November, December. So excited about season 2 of that. But yeah, man, we're just continuing to grind.
Yeah. Doing a feature right after we do our New York screening over in Chicago, creating more programs for Bassett House and doing more Screen That Night events where we could connect filmmakers, up-and-coming filmmakers, with the executives at the studio.
So, Jean, I have to ask you a silly, fun question, because now we're at the point we don't have to work them customer service jobs anymore. How did you feel when you could say, no, this is my job?
Yeah.
I know that felt good.
It felt real good.
Like, I don't got to talk to these people less Sprint anymore. Get off my phone.
You knew your credit wasn't good.
Exactly. I'm not running that. Wasting my time with this upgrade. No, I mean, that has to feel really good for the both of you to be able to say, this is what we're doing and this is the thing. Yeah,
it does.
Absolutely.
But again, I really appreciate that you all can also be very honest that it does take work, and that you started off in different paths, ended up here, so people can know that your story may not be any different than our own. So it's very encouraging.
Absolutely. It's all about investing your time, investing in the things that you want to do. Both Jean and I were, when we were developing Send Help, we're working. At the time, I think I was a writer's assistant on Claws, the TNT show. And I would leave work, at 7 p.m. and then head to Jean's place by 8, and then we'd be writing until like 2 in the morning. And then when the show got sold and we started writing that, we were brainstorming together between our gigs and between our commitments we already had, and still writing till midnight, writing till 4 in the morning. You really have to put time into your craft if it's something that you really care about. So, and we really do. So we're grateful to be here.
Now, that's that first gen story, having like 18 jobs at the same time.
We were already equipped. We already knew.
We already know what it was, right?
See what our parents are doing.
It was already in our blood. It was already in our blood.
Like, this is light. Been there before. That's absolutely great, fellas. I know you have some obligations today, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But my name is Koku with blackfilm.com. And again, I'm here with cast member, co-creator Jean Elie, and writer, co-creator Mike Gauyo of ALLBLK's new dramedy series, Send Help. You're going to really enjoy it. And like I said, it's very, very relatable, particularly if you speak another language, or if you have parents that, if you're a first generation parent of another culture, it's totally relatable. And shout out to IET, you know what I'm saying? Those are my favorite friends. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Pioneering it every day, my favorite people. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you. It's an honor to speak to you.
Thank you.
Bye. If you want to see more content like this on blackfilm.com, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.